What's up, friends? Welcome back to another Devblog review. Devblog 116, The Barbarians Part 1. Man, this looks cool. So, the upcoming Warriors of the North DLC will not just bring more replayability and Nordic equipment, but also introduce an entirely new human faction to the game. They'll come with their own lore, armor and weapons, enemy types and fighting styles to pose a unique challenge to any mercenary commander. Let's delve in. So during the development of Beasts and Exploration DLC, we had this idea for groups of wild men roaming the northern parts of the map. Essentially, they'd be a different flavor of bandits and use existing assets. Except maybe we could also squeeze in one new armor if we found the time, or maybe even two. Yeah, and so we decided that if we wanted to do them, we'd do them right and dedicate the time necessary to give them equipment and mechanics of their own music, as well as contracts and events to convey their lore and the part they play in the world of Battle Brothers. So here we are, with our Warriors of the North DLC in development. Oh, and the banners look cool. Check out, everything's got bones, it's all bones and wood. Very little iron. So many hundred years ago, in a different era, an empire of man spanned much of the known world. An empire, not of petty noble houses, but one of a dozen provinces, from the frozen tundra of the north to the blistering sands of the south. Of a dozen peoples under one banner. As the empire spread further and further to the north, it became entangled in constant war with countless tribes of barbarians. Some were subjugated by force, some saw opportunity and swore allegiance, others faded into nothingness. But many more remained free, their constant raids and incursions a thorn in the side of the empire. The empire, as you may know, eventually crumbled under its own weight, and feudal houses emerged from the dust to rule the lands in its stead. Yet, in the very north, the free barbarian tribes remained free still. For them, their own tribe is the beginning and the end. It is bliss in life and death, for their family is holy to them, and they believe to sit with their ancestors if they meet their end in this life. They roam the harsh and infertile lands as they have been for hundreds of years. They raid to claim what they need, and they sacrifice their prisoners in bloody rituals to prove their worth to ancestors who ascended to be gods through the deeds in their life. But they're not beasts, and they're not of alien minds like the greenskins. They're humans, and while they speak a different tongue, they can be reasoned with, and they know the concept of honor and friendship and truce and bartering. What they do, they have to do in order to survive in the unforgiving lands they inhabit. They follow their old ways to this day. They are the Warriors of the North. Oh, cool. Fighting barbarians. The Warriors of the North are ferocious fighters, but with scarce resources and a nomadic lifestyle. They usually don't have access to the level of equipment the other human factions do, thank God. Many of them wear armor crafted from pelts and furs, and while some do boast metal armor, not least because it is a matter of prestige, the harsh climate of the North often has taken a toll on it over the years. Some barbarians even forego armor altogether, and instead paint their bodies with magic runes to call upon their ancestors to protect them from harm. Their weapons are likewise often crafted from wood and bone. Look at that. That looks super cool, like Warhammer 40k type of style. Some of the new materials readily available to them, or have been handed down through generations and show signs of wear. Generally, all barbarian weapons have somewhat lower base damage values, but a higher percentage of damage that ignores armor than comparable weapons in the game. Of course, all their armor and weapons are lootable and equipable by you too, and they'll be named variants as well. It looks like an orc chopper! In combat, a barbarian warband doesn't bother with formations, and they'll have no backline with pole arms or dedicated archers. They are a horde of ferocious warriors in a constant shuffle of everything, trying to bring their weapons to bear against the enemy. They'll shower you with throwing weapons, they run towards your line, and they make ample use of the adrenaline perk to overwhelm you before you can even strike back. They don't fear death the same as other humans do, so they are not easy to break, and getting hurt will only further incite their barbarian wrath. Because the barbarian warband is but a loose collection of individuals, unified only in their tribal bonds and their willingness to fight for their place in both life and afterlife, their unit types are quite diverse in terms of equipment and perks, and you'll see in a future devblog. Whoa! There's so many things that have been added, all the beasts, all the other stuff. Now another whole race. So what does this mean tactically? And my initial reactions in terms of what it's going to be like fighting these things. I'm getting a kind of orc flavor from them. I think they're going to be programmed quite similarly to the orcs and fight quite similar to them as well, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So there's one thing here I wanted to... Okay, yeah, so here was the first point I wanted to think about. So they can be reasoned with, and they know the concepts of honor and friendship and truce and bartering. Super interesting. So I would imagine, at least at first, your only contact with them would be through fighting with them by missions given to you by the noble houses. But I wonder if you might actually be able to, like, maybe you come across something on the map and you can talk to them and maybe even befriend a group, hire from them. That's something else to think about. Are you going to be able to hire, you know, Northmen backgrounds, and what are their base stats going to be like? Pretty impressive, I would imagine. Okay, so a wide variety of armor. They're not going to have huge armor, but what was interesting was the fact that it said here they have lower base damage, the weapons that is, but higher base armor pierce. And it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't be using shields, the barbarians. And I'm not seeing shields here anywhere, so a lot of them are most likely going to be, oh god, what's that perk called with the offhand free? Duelist. They're going to be duelists, so they're going to armor pierce a hell of a lot, which is a little bit scary. So how are we going to go about fighting these guys? That's going to depend on how they fight. I mean, what makes me a little nervous is the fact that it says they don't have formations. So, worst case scenario, that means you start every battle with them kind of surrounding you from all sides. But that, I don't think they would do that. Balance-wise, that wouldn't be any good. One encouraging thing is the fact that it says that they will charge our lines. So, spear walls. I think spear walls are going to be super, super, super important. Maintaining a good spear wall against these guys is going to be good. Or at least, that failing, a good shield wall. I've been experimenting with very tank-heavy front lines, and it is possible to get your defense numbers up really high, into like 70s and 90s, making it damn near impossible to hit while you let your backline go to work. But then if there's large numbers of these guys, that's not really going to be viable as you get surrounded. So, they make ample use of the adrenaline perk. That's both good and bad. It's obviously super bad because if they have the stun skill where they hit your front line and stun you, they'll get the one attack off and then be able to attack again the next turn before you get to react because they would have used adrenaline. That's fucking terrifying. But at least that suggests that they're going to gas out in at least a turn or two, because that's of course so incredibly adrenaline, incredibly fatigue heavy. And they're going to have higher base resolve. That's going to be interesting to see how it works later on once you get fearsome. So I think fearsome will still make them roll for resolve, but if they have higher base resolve, they're going to break a lot less in any event. Okay, man, super, super interesting. I'm not crazy about the armor. I think it's going to have not comparable armor value to the typical armor we see in the game, but that's fair enough. I imagine at least it'll be cheaper, so maybe in the early game, if you come across these guys and you run them into some reinforcements and dagger them down, or you get small groups of them, maybe you can get decent armor. I don't know, it's too early to tell. You can kind of argue that this armor would be lighter because it's got so much bone on it, and bone being lighter than steel or iron. I think it's the weapons that are going to be really, really interesting. That looks like a pole arm, one-handed axe, hammer, well no, two-handed axe, one-handed hammer, two-handed hammer, one-handed hammer, cleaver. So 2 tiers of cleaver, 2 tiers of hammer there. Or was that one-handed axe, two-handed axe? I don't know. No flails or maces, interestingly. Or that could be the hammer, that could be the mace. Well, I don't know. We'll see. So it's going to be really super interesting to start playing with these guys and against them and see how they fight. Once this DLC drops, it's going to revolutionize the game. We're going to have the starting bonuses, the starting scenarios to contend with, the new enemy types. Oh, God, I can't wait. Overall, pretty cool. I do think that this faction, though, falls into the early to mid-game sort of area. I do think that with appropriate skilled brothers of your own, they should become comparatively quite easy. I mean, I'm thinking, imagine if you have 2 or even 4 master archers or crossbowmen. You will light these guys up before they get to your front line. I mean, for a second you might think, well, no, you don't want to hit them before they hit. Well, no, well, the fact that they do more damage as they get hurt, well, I assume more damage. Getting hurt only further incite their barbarian wrath. That could be anything. It could give them extra AP, it could give them extra defense. Most likely it's more damage. So like rage, like the orcs have. I tend to find that rage isn't that much of a problem on the orcs, because it's only on the berserkers, who whenever I fight an orc formation, the berserkers are always the first ones I pick out with my archers, and I think it'll be the same thing with these barbarians. As they charge you, you pick up the lower armored ones and just get their numbers done quick as you can. Super interesting. I cannot wait. So good. My god, Overhype Studios, you guys are incredible. I cannot wait for this. Well, friends, looks like another interesting devblog. Let me know what you think tactically wise and what this implies for our tactics going forward. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. I can't wait. I cannot wait. It's funny because like I want this DLC to be released as soon as it can, because I want to get my hands on it. But it's kind of exciting because the longer it takes, the more and more they're going to add and the better it's going to be. So cool. So cool. My main hope from this is that there will be a barbarian background that you'll be able to hire and actually get a barbarian to fight for you. How cool would that be? Right, friends, thanks for watching. I'm Stobbie for now, and this was Devblog 116, the Barbarians, Part 1. So more barbarians next week. Tune in then when I do another little overview. And yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments what you think. God, Overhype. You guys are the best.